Hello, I'm Alika Karpova and you are watching It All Starts with a Dream TV talk show. Let's talk about dreams once again. Most dreams are reachable, but action is needed in order to succeed. In our talk show, entrepreneurs and professionals talk about your dreams, share your life experiences, incredible stories and secrets of success. You can watch the previous episodes of our show at itallstartswithadream.net. This is third year of our TV talk show, and this year I decided to add something new to the show. Instead of having my co-host Sofia Yetka, who was representing the voice of young generation in the show, every next episode I will have new two students coming to the show who will be talking about their dreams, and their dreams in most cases will be related to the topic of the episode, to the occupation of the guest speaker of that particular episode. It's gonna be like a link between the dream that it's not happening yet to the dream that already occurred. And for example, for the next episode, we're gonna have a guest speaker who is a singer and vocal instructor, and two new students who will come to the program will talk about their dream being a singer in the future. So today we will talk about dreams of Assam Sleiman and Vaikun Jagannathan, junior from Westmont High School. Assam,
Hi.
Vaikun, and we will see how the dreams are related to what our guest speaker Evgenii Puchkaryov does for a living, which is software engineering at Intel company. Evgenii? Also, as always, I have my helper today, Kristina Karevsky-Karpova, our little star, Rosemary Elementary School, 2nd grade.
Hi, how are you?
Today we will start our interview a little bit different, not with the first question that Christina usually asks our guest speaker, but with the questions that I want to ask our high school students. So, Assam, what is your dream? Can you tell about this a little bit? Go ahead.
My whole life as a kid, as a young child, I've always wanted to become an engineer. Not specifically computer programming, but I've wanted to become an engineer, and I've been strong in math and science, right? So I've always wanted to become an engineer. Growing up in the Silicon Valley, I've seen all the tech companies around, and I've really been inspired by the tech companies, and I want to do something like that in the future. Also, growing up, I've been taking a couple of engineering courses, including computer programming, and while taking multiple different types of engineering courses, I've decided for myself that I want to become a computer programmer. And what also helped me out also is that my brother is studying computer science, and my brother, as a young child growing up, my brother has been helping me out with programming, has been teaching me different things in computer science. So I give a lot of credit to my brother. My brother motivated me a lot. Also in the future, I see myself creating an app that I can put on the App Store for everyone to be able to experience. I also see myself being an entrepreneur with something computer programming related.
That's nice. Sounds really like a great dream that really can come true. Okay, I have a question about your parents. Are they related to computer, like networking, engineering? Is any or not?
No, my parents aren't computer programmers, but the family member that I have that is a computer programmer is my brother.
Is your brother?
Yeah.
Okay. Did you think about what institute, like university, you want to apply? Did you have anything in mind already or not?
Yeah, the schools that I would like to go to for computer programming is either Berkeley or UCLA.
Okay, UCLA. Vaikun, your turn now. What's your dream? Can you talk about your dream?
Yeah, so ever since I was a little kid, I was always into how things were made, creating new things and how things worked. And ever since I was little, my parents used to tell me that they were computer engineers, and I didn't really know what that meant. So I started experimenting with computers, playing games and working with applications that I really was curious about. And then as I grew up, I started taking lots of math and science courses. And again, like Issam, it sort of led me into computer programming because later I found out that it can be like implemented in almost anything, and in our daily lives, like our appliances to our phones. So I was just inspired by how computer programming can really be applied to almost anything, and it can help you create. And also a big part of that inspiration was my parents, because they both are software engineers, and they really told me how I can apply computer programming to many different aspects of life. And I think that's what really inspired me, and that was my dream, to become a computer programmer in the future.
Wonderful. What school do you want to apply?
Like UCs such as UC Berkeley, UCLA, Cal Poly also, and then Stanford. Schools that are well known for their computer science programs.
Okay, sounds good. Now Christina's turn. Can you ask your question that you always ask our coming guests? Go ahead, honey. Ask your question.
What is your childhood dream?
Yeah.
Well, I'm sorry to disappoint you. I didn't have a childhood dream, but I was lucky early enough to find that I really like programming, even though at the beginning I didn't know that it was programming and did not really exist. I mean, in my world, we didn't have computers yet, and I haven't heard about programming and software engineering. But it happened, and eventually it kind of was a thread through all my life, and eventually it became a profession.
So what was kind of related to your childhood dream, not dream? Like, what did you start to do while being a child at age 4? You mentioned that you started to
It's
do
actually not age 4, it's the grade 4 in school.
grade 4 in school.
So our school was sponsored by research institutes in the area, and we were the first school probably in the city to have experimental class in programming, and we basically were introduced to concepts of algorithms, and then we started programming on microcalculators, which is pretty much like assembly language level from the beginning, which is kind of interesting. And I liked it, and then things developed further. Like our school got the first computers, and there was basically an optional class where you can go to and try things. So studied a little more, studied basic language, and then started writing little simple games on those computers. Like, they didn't have graphics, they only had characters, so you make things out of characters. And then went to computer club, which had different computers, like Japanese computers that had actually fun games, and we started doing more and more things there, and went to summer camp, and it just became like a fun hobby.
So at school age, class 4, you mentioned, grade 4, was it unusual for a kid that age to start doing programming? How many kids your
like
age
I
did
mentioned,
it?
it was probably the first ever experiment in our city, and probably, I guess, in Moscow maybe they had something similar going on, but for us, first time I was what, 11 years old probably. It was pretty rare, so I guess I'm very lucky that I was exposed to that at such an early age, and it caught on.
How it developed in high school, like programming? What did you do?
So I was going to those clubs, and basically by the time I was in high school, they introduced a new class on computer programming, but I skipped it because I already knew whatever was taught there, and I was actually helping some of my classmates with their assignments. And then kind of on and on, like from that point, there were computers starting appearing in our environment first and was in research institute. So we also had a professional program at school where school kids, they choose what type of kind of professional training they would like to get. And there are some industry links that some people from industry who help kids learn that stuff. So I actually went to electronics, where you actually produce like little, designs with micro elements, and you solder them together, and that wasn't as easy or fun as programming. So I also started going at the same time in programming section as well. So I was attending 2 of them, and eventually the first one kind of died off because the teacher got sick, and I ended up in programming, and it just kept going later.
I want to tell a secret about you. I know that at some point in time you decided that programming it's not so serious career path, and you choose something else. Can you tell about university?
Yeah, so at that point, programming was considered like a craft. At least we were told that way. Like somebody comes in, says, write me a program to do this and this. You go write a program, you deliver, done. And I was more interested in science, so I figured this is not very serious. It's not science, and there was no term computer science. At least I didn't know about that. So I went into physics. My both parents are physicists, and physics seemed to be like the most real science out of all. So I applied to school, university, in the physics department, and actually that's what got me eventually into United States.
How did you ended up in America? Can you tell about that?
Yeah, my dad actually gave me that idea. He came here on contract at USC, University, Southern California, and he just sent me a letter that, hey, there are some Russian students applying here for graduate programs. And we had no idea what's going on. I looked at the papers, it didn't make any sense. But at the same time, we had like American education kind of, I don't know, club or some kind of American education class that opened up in our library. And by pure chance, I happened to pass by, and I was interested in what's going on, asked some questions, and they said, hey, we're helping people apply to study abroad. Like, oh, interesting. And there were basically so many things that came together at that time. It felt like a wave that kind of took me and brought to the US to graduate school. So I actually applied for PhD in physics.
How it happened that from PhD in physics you got to computer science finally?
One thing that kind of helped, which was a big trouble for me, that it turns out I applied to a wrong department, even wrong school, because physics that I studied in my undergrad, here it maps more to material science, which is in the School of Engineering, and physics here is like theoretical physics. So once I realized it, it was a little bit late and I was really struggling. And then I felt that, this whole thing is kind of difficult. It's maybe going against what I really want to do, because even though I was doing physics, I was still doing a lot with software, like all my diploma project, and when I was helping with research, was always on computers. I was programming something, and then I decided, okay, how about I'll take a class in computer science here at USC and see how that goes. And that was like awesome. It was much easier and it was fun, and I'm obviously doing something wrong here. And I also learned that there is term computer science, so there's science in that as well. So I figured, hey, I probably should go where my heart, wants me to go. So I started taking some classes to get my background up, and then I applied for masters in computer science. And physics, I trimmed down to masters as well, so I ended up with 2 masters.
Excellent. So what was the first job out of university?
I first had an internship with Altera Corporation, and after that, next year, they offered me to come back, and they were very, very generous in terms of, like I said, hey, I haven't interviewed with anybody else yet, can you wait a little bit? And they waited for like 3 months, I think, because they gave me an offer very early. And by that time, I got 3 more offers. I was even able to bargain with them to to get a little bit more in terms of package to come on board. And I've been with them ever since until Intel bought Altera.
How many years was it?
It was about 16 years, I think.
16 years, and then Intel bought Altera.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. While working at Altera, what exciting memories from company's events can you share shortly? Favorites?
I don't know. I don't think they have really awesome events, but I participated in a bunch of volunteer opportunities, like building House for Humanities, cleaning the beach. We had some outings, went for hikes, went for skiing, but generally it's day to day. It's kind of fun. That's you deal with people you like, and you work on interesting projects, so you don't really need much beyond that.
What is your position at Intel? Would you call it a dream job? For many people, it's kind of like a dream job to work at a big company because, you know, stocks, benefits. How you could comment on that?
Well, I never dreamed about it. I couldn't even dream about it because I had no idea what's going on in USA, and I had no idea that I'll be able to travel to USA, like to live, even just to travel abroad. At that point in Soviet Union, it was like, no, you don't get to get out. But now it feels like, yeah, I can't wish for more, because I enjoy working. That's why I didn't change jobs also. I enjoy working with these people. The bosses are great. You know, the things I do, I really like. So from that point of view, I'm living my dream.
Okay, sounds like a plan. Sounds great. Sam, do you have your 2 questions for our guest? Please, go ahead.
Yes, I do. So my first question will be, how do you transition from attending college in Russia to attending college in America?
Yeah, so that was a big process. I mean, I applied just like anybody else, but yeah, all these things that came together, the application process is very different from Russia and here, and then you need a lot of money to study at USC as well. So, so then it was good that I was in physics actually, because in physics you get a lot of teaching assistantships, because physics is general educational requirement. So there are lots of students that take physics. So physics professors, then they require assistants to help with all these students. So I got a teaching assistantship that way. And it was many things happening. Like first time that there was a foreigner in our city who actually had a book on GRE, which is a examination that you need to take in order to apply for a program. Like nobody else in the city knew about this exam at all. There was a TOEFL, which is an international student language exam. Some people knew about that. Both exams I had to travel to another city to take. Financial, it just happened, yeah, because of teaching assistantship, and I had very good grades. So from that point of view, it was good. And then I think there was first time ever there was a rating of universities in Russia. That it never happened before, first times, and I somehow found it. I don't know. So when they asked like, what is this Tomsk State University. We never heard about it, so I had a snapshot from a paper saying, "Oh, that's where it is," and we ended up in like 4th place in there. They say, "Okay, fine, that's not bad." So all of these things happened together, and like to get my ticket to fly, I had to sell some video camera that my dad sent me to make some money like for the ticket, and then basically I had $100 to my name when I came to USC. And I lived on teaching assistantship, very limited kind of financially lifestyle, but you know, you're too busy studying anyway, so that's good.
Second question.
Okay. So what specific job did you work before Intel bought your company, and how did your job change once Intel did buy your company?
So I think Intel was smart about this. They didn't try to mess anything up. So we pretty much kept going the same way, the same direction. It's just opportunities widened for the company in terms of market space where our products could be sold. And then the whole infrastructure behind Intel, they introduced their IT and they introduced their ways, but our things that we worked on, that didn't change. So I worked on lots of things that have to do with converting data about our hardware, the programmable chips, from IC design, descriptions to software models, so that our software can pick it up and present to customers in a reasonable way. And pretty much continued doing that, working on some big project that I started at some point.
Vaikun, do you have your 2 questions?
Yeah. So, like, what skills that are taught in high school and college do you use in programming?
So, in school, there wasn't much other than what you get from math and sciences. That I think the main thing you get is you train your brain to solve problems and to approach problems in a logical way, and like figure out how to deal with them and organize your thought process, you know, how to get to the end point. I think that's the main of it. Like, depending on what you do in computer science, you may need more or less of certain mathematical skills, or like if you're simulating, like doing like physical world simulation, then you'll certainly need some physics knowledge, depending on specifics. The general software, I would say, it does not require that much of like, I mean, with physics I studied a lot of physics and math, like way beyond that I would ever need. In college though, if you go to computer science, they're more practical. You learn languages, you learn algorithms, you learn like different kind of some theory behind computing, and that helps you think about problems again, and you know, that gives you frameworks where you can classify your problem, and you can use some industry standard approaches and some well-developed algorithms. Like, you're not reinventing the wheel. So in college there was a lot that's useful. Plus you get some experience programming.
So what advice do you have for students like us who want to go into the computer science field?
So as I learned, like, you're already doing most of the things that I was going to recommend. But basically, you know, this is not like I don't know, cutting diamonds. You know, you go to the internet and you can get your hands on some software. You can get you can have a computer. You can start writing programs, download Python and learn Python. You look at the Hans Academy videos or other lots of free classes. You can go to clubs, computing clubs. There's a lot where you can apply, and basically I would say, you know, start playing with it. You know, you can write apps for the phone. I mean, it's it's not that hard to learn. There's way you download things and you start playing with it. Just start playing and then see if that's something that you really like, because there are days that when it's kind of drag, it's you're stuck on some problem and things are not going well, and or you're writing some proposals and it's kind of boring. So if you really like the rest of it, then you can get through these tough spots. But you have to test it. Like, do you really like it? Like for me, turned out physics is not something that I really enjoyed. So try it and see.
Shortly, I have a quick question about your parents. If you remember something, maybe some special words of wisdom that you carry in your heart. Do you remember anything?
I was thinking about it. My mom once said she hates when she has to deal with flukes. Basically, if you promise something, you better deliver it, because the whole world is kind of built on that. You cannot do things by yourself. You have to rely on others to do things. And if they don't do what they say, things just fall apart. So I keep this in mind. I always try to deliver on what I promise. And if I realize that I cannot for some reason, then I inform people early in advance. So in fact, this is actually very useful practical advice. We had a person who was a decent engineer, but he kept not delivering what he said he would and kept silent. So eventually he was fired. And he was a really nice guy. We all felt sorry about it, but you can't just let this continue. So that's some advice I took from my mom.
Okay. So it was a pleasure to have you here with us today. It was a great experience. We probably have a little bit more questions after the program. Sam, Vaikun, Christina, thank you for being part of the show. It was a wonderful experience to have you here with us today as well. Thank you. You were watching It All Starts With a Dream TV talk show. See you next time. Alika Karpova.